One down for DreamWorks live action remakes now. And for any future live action remakes they might do, just please don't do either Shrek, Madagascar, or Kung Fu Panda. I just can't imagine those movies in live action. Just don't do it, please. Hey movie buffs, I'm Jack Benner and welcome to my review of How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake. This is the newest live action remake of the 2010 DreamWorks animated film of the same name, and Dean DeBlois, who directed the original trilogy and co-directed the first How to Train Your Dragon with Chris Sanders, is back directing this newest live action version. If you've seen the original, you've seen this remake. In the island of Berk, a scrawny young Viking named Hiccup wants to slay a dragon like his father Stoic. One night, he traps a night fury which no Viking has ever seen. When he decides not to kill it when he had the chance, he starts to train and bond with it, realizing there's more to dragons instead of slaying them. Before I get into my review of How to Train Your Dragon, any new viewers coming across my channel for the first time, welcome to my channel. I am Jack Benner. I do movie reviews on here, and from time to time I do some top 5 lists on here. So if you're looking for either movie reviews or top 5 lists, you're definitely in the right place. So if you like movie content, like what you see so far, definitely considering that like and subscribe button for more exciting movie content down the road. And before I give you my thoughts on the live action remake, I would like to give you my thoughts on the original How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, starting with the first How to Train Your Dragon from 2010. An absolutely incredible start to the trilogy that's funny, heartwarming, and smart, memorable characters, and I remember seeing this movie in theaters in 3D, and I'd say that was some of the best 3D since Avatar, especially the flying sequence. Wow. And that, along with John Powell's iconic score, was incredible. And still to date, one of DreamWorks' top 5 very best films, one of my top 10 favorite films of 2010, and would be my second favorite animated film of that year behind Toy Story 3. And in 2014, we got the sequel, How to Train Your Dragon 2. And what I think is not only as great as that first film, I think this is even better than the first film. And this is still to date my personal favorite of the trilogy. And this still remains one of the greatest animated sequels I have ever seen, up there with Toy Story 2 and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And this movie just ups the ante from the first film, taking Hiccup's and Toothless' journey to amazing new heights. It's even funnier than the first film. It goes darker than the first film. It's more thrilling than the first film. The villain is menacing, and just the more you see him, then the more bad things he's doing, you definitely despise him. Drago is amazing, and it's a fantastic continuation from the first that expands more on the dragon lore and the characters. Valka was a terrific new addition along with Cate Blanchett's voice work. The animation is even more jaw-dropping, the spectacle is fantastic, and that one tearjerker scene, Stoic's death, still one of the most heartbreaking scenes that DreamWorks has ever done. It's in my top 10 favorite films of 2014, my second favorite animated film of 2014 behind the Lego Movie. And I do like Big Hero 6, but this should have won the Oscar for Best Animated Film that year. And in 2019, we got the end to the trilogy, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. An amazing conclusion that beautifully gives closure to Hiccup and Toothless' story. And just seeing where it started from the first film, then to the middle of the story, and seeing where it ends here, beautifully done, just marvelous. A Light Fury was a great new addition here, and I loved her bond with Toothless. And another great new addition was especially the Hidden World, and that entire sequence, just the attention to detail and the colors in that scene. My God, that was jaw-dropping. Just one of the most beautiful animated sequences I have ever seen. And Grimmel was a great villain here. I like that his character had a different way of approaching dragons than Hiccup, and serving as an opposing threat throughout the entire film. And that ending was just so emotional, powerful, just a perfect way to end a trilogy. Just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. This would be in my top 15 favorite films of 2019, and my pick for the best animated film of 2019. I still love and defend Toy Story 4. I don't care what anyone says, but I'd say this was my pick to win of the nominees. As someone who adores the original trilogy and everything Dean DeBlois accomplished with that trilogy was just marvelous, and I consider it DreamWorks' best work of the 2010s decade. Last year when I made my top 5 favorite DreamWorks animation films of the 2010s decade, I had the entire trilogy at number 1, link to that video in the description, and I consider that movie, now that Toy Story is not a trilogy anymore, I think it's the best animated trilogy of all time. Now, in a few years, if Beyond the Spider-Verse is absolutely spectacular, we'll see if that could give its competition or maybe a runner-up. We'll see. After an incredible continuation in 2019, I just thought, that's it for How to Train Your Dragon. We had the beginning, middle, and end of the story. There's no more to tell. We're done with the trilogy. Beautiful conclusion. Very satisfying. Until Hollywood announced they were going to do a live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon, and instantly when I heard that, I just thought,
why?
What's the point of it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a perfect way to tell that story in animation. Do we really need to see it again in live action? Even with Dean DeBlois directing the live action remake, which I believe is a first for these live action remakes to get the original creator to do the live action remake, I just thought maybe there could be something there, but I'm not entirely on board with it. So my expectations were quite low, and then the trailers came out. It didn't really impress me either. It looked what I feared it would be. It just looked like a stale shot-for-shot remake of the original. And despite not being impressed with the marketing either, I did want to give this remake a chance for better or worse. And I did hear positive reactions from people who saw this movie when it screened at CinemaCon in April. I just thought, okay, maybe I'll warm up to this movie a bit. But then again, The Flash also did receive positive reviews at CinemaCon, so I didn't like that movie at all, so I was like, I'll just wait till I judge the movie for myself. And on its Rotten Tomatoes score, it currently stands at 78%, certified fresh, so I was like, okay, I'll warm up to it a bit more, do want to give it a chance to judge it for myself and form my own opinion. And I saw the How to Train Your Dragon remake on Wednesday at an early access screening. Thank you to my local AMC theaters for the early access screening. I went in with an open mind, but also middling expectations. It could go either way. Could this actually be an entertaining remake and good? Middle of the road remake that's not great but not bad either, or it could be absolutely terrible. So what are my thoughts on this live action remake? I am surprised to say I actually enjoyed this remake. Granted, it's nowhere near the greatness of that original film, but I actually feel like this remake did succeed at staying faithful to the original film, with some new changes sprinkled here and there, and capturing the spirit and heart of the original film that I found it entertaining. Let's start with my pros. What I believe was the main ingredient to my enjoyment of this remake was Dean DeBlois. It's very apparent how much he loves the world of Berk, from these characters, dragon lore, and storytelling depth. If it were any other average Joe filmmaker tackling this live action remake, I don't think it would have had that same level of nuance the original had. But getting someone who directed the original trilogy and was a co-director on that first film, injecting his passion and experience, all the lore and noteworthy traits of that original film, and keeping all the noteworthy traits intact to make this one stand out. I feel like that was an admirable trait compared to other live action retellings. And for making the transition from animation to live action, I thought he did a great job here. From the top-notch production and costume design, recreating Berk and their Viking culture excellently. And there were even some moments I could tell, okay, this looks like it was shot on location. All from the village, the dragon slaying stadium, the landscapes, all looks very well done here in live action. The visual effects work on the dragons is fantastic. And Toothless' design in live action is spot on from the original. From how he moves, his energy and expressions, and his skin, size, all looks excellent. And that goes for the rest of the dragon designs, from their different sizes, colors, and traits. And I definitely do want to give credit to the visual effects department for bringing the original dragon designs to live action excellently. And there are even some scenes with human interactions where a character is touching a dragon, and it all does look very convincing and not just someone touching a CGI effect. And the cast, for the most part, does a strong job here. And it did take a while for me to get adjusted to these actors doing their own interpretation, minus one reprising their role. And I felt like these actors did a good job with these characters. Starting with the one I was curious to see was Nathan Thames as Hiccup, and I was familiar with him. I thought he did a great job in The Black Phone a few years ago. After being impressed with his performance in that, I was looking forward to seeing how he would do as Hiccup. And it was a challenge for him to make it his own as Hiccup, but I thought he was more than up to the task here. He avoids imitating Jay Baruchel and instead showing his confidence at making his own while capturing Hiccup's traits from being an awkward outcast, inventing skills for dragons, and doing a terrific job at selling his conflict and character arc. After being impressed with his work in The Black Phone here, and we also got a sequel to The Black Phone coming out this fall, which I'm looking forward to. So I think he's proving himself to be a very talented young actor so far. And after being impressed with his live action version of Hiccup, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he sells Hiccup's character growth in the sequel a few years. And Nico Parker does a great job as Astrid, selling a strong Viking who doesn't like Hiccup but does learn to like him later. And we also got entertaining word from Hiccup's dragon-slaying friends. And I like that they did have new banter instead of rehashing their old dialogue, which was great to see. But who I thought was the MVP of the entire cast, Gerard Butler, reprising his role from the animated film as Stoic. Now this one I was very curious about. Now I was thinking, okay, let's see how this goes. And remembering The Lion King 2019, how they brought back the late great James Earl Jones to voice Mufasa. Absolutely no disrespect to James Earl Jones at all. May he rest in peace, what a legend. But his voice just didn't sound the same as the original. Would put the blame to that on Jon Favreau not giving him enough direction and just being like, do what you did in the original. So I was like, what are they gonna do with Butler here? And I am delighted to see how much he gave it his all and didn't phone it in. Butler incorporates the same gravitas, presence, and character from how misguided he is amazingly in live action. Just everything from his emotions, presence, it was all there. And I'd say it was just as good as live action as it was in animation. I feel like with Dane DeBlois also loving the world of How to Train Your Dragon, I feel like that also goes the same for Gerard Butler, how much he loves this character and the emotions and art that comes with it and wants to apply it greatly to live action, and I gotta respect him for that. Now, if a live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon was happening, and if it was going to follow the same story as the original beat by beat, the main thing for this remake to absolutely get right in live action is the friendship between Hiccup and Toothless, because it is the most significant aspect of this entire trilogy. It is the heart and emotional anchor not only of the first film, but the entire trilogy. And if it doesn't get me emotionally invested in their friendship and it feels hollow and weightless, then this remake absolutely fails. Luckily, Dean DeBlois understands the heart and depth and development of their friendship, and recapturing it here was terrific. Their bond is easily the biggest highlights here, whether that's their first encounter, them practicing flying, and of course, the test drive sequence. There were plenty of moments with their banter that had me either smiling, and even some moments in the third act that did move me. And now to talk about the test drive sequence, how it's done in live action, breathtaking. Beautifully recreated from the camera work, exhilaration, and emotions. And of course, John Powell's iconic score, still used here, is incredible. From both reusing old themes and new compositions that worked greatly here. And that reminds me, definitely see this movie on the biggest screen. I didn't see this movie in 3D, it was just a showtime I could make it to, but I kind of do regret not seeing this movie in 3D because I bet that would have been amazing too. Even if I'm not a huge fan of 3D, I bet that would have been amazing. And seeing this movie on the biggest screen is also the same for the climax. It's incredible spectacle to be seen. Sadly, I do have some flaws with this movie. I will get to those right now. First, predictably, this movie does follow the same story, beat for beat, almost shot for shot. Now, I was still enjoying myself, but it does feel familiar with the original if you've seen that movie like 100 times, with how almost verbatim it is, with a few lines that are either changed or omitted. And with the story beats, you're thinking, okay, how are they going to do this from the original? They're going to do this scene next, and they're going to do this scene next. It's just impossible not to think that way watching this movie. I was like, yeah, we kind of done this before. Granted, those scenes still worked, but it does feel that way. It was just like, yeah, we're gonna do this scene next and next. And second, there are a few comedic moments that either don't have that same flow or energy like in the original scenes. Like that scene with Roughnut when he says, "Ha, that's the size of my..." Or when Fishleg says in the climax, "I'm okay." Less okay. And seeing those comedic scenes recreated in live action and don't really have that same energy doesn't entirely land. Next, while there is terrific visual effects work here, particularly on the dragons, in the flying scenes it does have some spotty looking green screen at times that kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. And lastly, one actor that did stuck out like a sore thumb to me. This is a shame to say because I think this is a hilarious actor, especially in the Cornetto trilogy, and that would be Nick Frost as Gobber. I wouldn't say he gave a bad performance here, but his performance almost felt awkward and distracting. Almost felt like he was imitating Craig Ferguson's performance in the original trilogy, and it just doesn't entirely work here. To sum up, it does admittedly follow the same story beat by beat, and I don't think the sequel entirely justifies its existence, but I thought How to Train Your Dragon 2025 was a heartfelt, sweeping, and entertaining retelling of the animated film, with a strong cast, terrific visual effects work, and Dean DeBlois incorporating the heart and spirit of the original film wonderfully. I would definitely recommend this movie to you if you're fans of the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, and if you're excited to see the live-action remake. I think you'll enjoy this one. Even if you are hesitant about a live-action remake happening, I do think you should give this movie a chance to see if you like it or not. And if you didn't like this movie, or if you prefer to stick with the original film, I totally understand where you're coming from. And with my screening, I have a feeling this movie is going to do very well at the box office on its opening weekend. And it just shows to see how many people love How to Train Your Dragon just with these characters and story. And when I was in line to buy my ticket and just seeing kids with toothless shirts and toys, and I saw a couple with a toothless and Light Fury onesie, I just thought that was adorable. That's couple goals right there. And despite Snow White bombing in March, I could see why that movie failed at the box office. But Lilo and Stitch did recently make a killing at the box office. And with the positive reviews and people curious to see how this is in live action remake, I think it's going to do very well on its opening weekend. So I'm looking forward to seeing the box office numbers this weekend. And as someone who was doubtful about this remake and ended up having a good time with it, I was pleasantly surprised. Even if it doesn't reach the same heights as the original, I'd say this did succeed as a faithful retelling. And now to grade it, I'm going to give How to Train Your Dragon 2025 3.5 stars out of 5, a B. Now, a sequel was recently confirmed for 2027. I am still worried as 2 is absolutely incredible, but after watching this movie, I am starting to warm up to it a bit, both to see what changes they'll make and to see Hiccup grow in live action. I'm also curious, now that they brought back Gerard Butler as Stoic, could it be possible to bring back Cate Blanchett as Valka or a new actress? We'll see. And if we get more DreamWorks live-action remakes down the road, I hope they don't go crazy like, let's remake every single freaking movie we made in the live action. I'd say my best advice, only for stories that either, okay, let's see what changes they could do, but also do ones with stories that, okay, maybe this might need improving. Could this work in a live-action remake? So let's hope that DreamWorks doesn't go too crazy with live-action remakes in the future. So I would like to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action remake? Have you seen it? You agree? Disagree with my review? Or if you haven't seen it, are you interested in seeing this remake or not? Let me know down below. Did you enjoy hearing my thoughts on this movie and want to see more reviews like this in the future? If yes, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're new here, and don't forget that notification bell for my next upload in the future. It really means a lot. My social media links will be in the description down below. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok, and if you'd like to see my written reviews, I do have a letterbox, so if you'd like to follow me on there as well. And until the next video, I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.